When there is no trust in a marriage, there is no marriage. Sometimes what you discover turns out to be worse than what you first thought. As I lay in the dark looking up at the ceiling, I figured it was somewhere around 2 in the morning. I got up, looked up at the bars, and thought about how much my life had changed in less than 24 hours. You see, I was in a holding cell at the 3rd police station downtown. I've been charged with damaging personal property and threatening me with an aluminum bat. This morning, my wife and sister tried to bail me out, but I told the jailer I had made other arrangements and for them to leave. I was afraid if I saw them I would cause them bodily harm, so I'm sitting here cooling my heels and wondering what my next move will be. My name is Steve Moore. I'm 39, soon to be 40 years old. I work for Ace Insurance Company as a property appraiser. I've been working there for 12 years, and I make a pretty decent living. Sue, my wife of 17 years, works in an office downtown, and we have one son, Kevin, who is also 17 and can be very difficult at times. You see, we are a typical suburban family and are quite happy. That was until yesterday. We had a date night, or should I say weekend, planned for Saturday and Sunday this week. You see, a couple times a year, my wife would send our son to her parents for the weekend, and we would have 2 days to ourselves. Sue started doing this a while ago, so we could have time to reconnect with each other. She would usually leave with my sister and a few friends on Friday night and return just before midnight. Then it would start in earnest. And I think if I told you she was going to make love to death to me all weekend, you'd understand what I was looking forward to. I was in charge of the food, and Sue did everything else. To keep things fresh, we changed the theme each time. One time it was edible things, another time it was a dress-up night, and the last time was a fancy dress weekend, which I really enjoyed. That weekend we did things we had never done in our 17 years of married life. I couldn't wait for Friday night. Sue, I'm planning chocolates for Friday night, a buffet for Saturday, and a couple ribs for Sunday when Kevin gets home, I told her Wednesday when I got home from work. I picked up a couple bottles of wine we like, and we'll leave them in the fridge. That way we don't have to fumble with the ice bucket, she said as she put everything away. We had a nice dinner on Wednesday and Thursday. Kevin talked non-stop about how his grandparents were taking him to Six Flags and how much fun he was going to have there. Go easy on them, honey, my wife said to our son. Remember that they're not as young as they used to be. And I don't want you stuffing your face and getting sick on the rides, you hear me? She warned him. The two of them packed it up Thursday night, and by 9 o'clock that evening, he was ready to go. I told Cindy I wanted to be home by 11:30 Friday night, Sue told me. I really need this weekend. It's been so hectic lately, it will be nice to relax and have some fun without a break. She smiled at me. I don't plan on wearing clothes all weekend, I don't think you'll mind, she said as I started chasing her around our bedroom. This would work perfectly. I'm meeting with a new client on Friday, and if he signs the contract, we'll have something to celebrate, I told Sue. Well, save your energy because you're going to need it this weekend, she informed me, trying to get ready for bed when I grabbed her hand. You know the rules. No love tonight. Tomorrow night, you'll get all you can get, she told me. Thursday night, I couldn't sleep for a long time. I made my way over a couple times to kiss and touch Sue a little. She told me to go back to my side of the bed and go back to sleep. Eventually, I made it to my side and fell asleep. I knew Friday was going to be a busy Friday, so I got up early, kissed my wife while she was still in the shower, grabbed her ass, and ran out of the bathroom before she could throw the wet washcloth she was holding at me. I went downstairs, hugged my son, and told him to behave himself this weekend, and I would see him Sunday night. I got out of my seat, and for the last time, not caring about anything in the world, rushed down the road. This morning, everyone was in a good mood. And how could it be otherwise, since it was Friday and payday? I went over the proposal I was to submit later in the day and finally got approval from my superiors after 2 minor changes. It was a proposal to insure a boarding house outside of town. The boarding house was worth about $10,000, and the policy would give our company a nice boost, especially in the current economy. Don't screw this up, my boss, Tom, said around 3:30. "What time are you meeting with them?" he asked. "He wants me there around 6 miles so we can go over the rooms after they check in Friday's guests," I told him. "What leeway do I have as far as the rooms are concerned?" I asked. "Not very much. You can go down 3% if you need to, but no more than that." "Don't worry, I won't leave without a signature," I told him. I hung around the office and left around 5:30. It was only a 25-minute drive to downtown, but it was a scenic drive along the lake, so I took my time and enjoyed the view. I pulled up to the boarding house at about 6:10 and took one more look at the rooms before going inside. "Steve, you made it," Rick said, extending his hand. "How was the drive?" "Great. You have a really nice place," I told him. "It must be very quiet here at night, huh?" I asked. "Except for the loons and owls, you can hear a pin drop. A lot of people come here just to get away for the weekend. We are close to town, but far enough away that we don't feel the hustle and bustle of the city. There is no TV, radio, or cable in the rooms, so there is nothing to distract you. Our restaurant is open until 8 and the lounge has music until midnight," Rick told me. "Looks like you've got your own little gold mine here," I told him. "Ready to see some rooms?" I asked. And that's exactly what we did for the next hour. He showed me around, we tweaked a few things, and by 7:30 we came to an agreement. In the end, I gave him a discount of about 1.25%, but I was well within the range. He signed, I signed, and his wife notarized the agreement. "I'm glad it's over," he told me. "How about dinner before we return and maybe a bottle of wine to celebrate our new arrangement?" Rick asked. I agreed, and we went to a corner of the restaurant and sat in a private booth. "Not too many people here," I said, just making small talk. "It's still a little early. Most people get here by 7, and my wife usually has everyone settled into rooms by 8:30. If you like meat, try the steak. It is unparalleled, and my chef grills it over an open flame to perfection." We had a great meal and enjoyed each other's company. "I wish I had a place like this," I told him. "It looks like there's a lot to do here, but at the same time, a lot of fun. I love people, and running something like this or a B&B would appeal to me. In our economy, business is tough, and we make money, but not a lot. If we didn't live here and do 95% of the work ourselves, we'd never make it. But I like what I'm doing. I was full, and I don't know how I finished that steak. I also gave up dessert and only sipped a little brandy after dinner." "I should get going," I told him, as we decided to take one last tour of the place. At that moment, my life as I knew it was over. We were standing in the doorway of the living room watching couples dancing when I thought I recognized someone. I was looking at a particular couple when Rick said, "Those are the Carrolls. They come here a couple times a year for dinner and then go to the dance floor. I'd love to hold something like that in my hands right now," he said to me. I would too, I thought to myself, because, unless my eyes deceive me, that was my wife Sue with her old college boyfriend Bill Carroll. When they turned and walked back to their table, I confirmed it. So it was Sue and Cindy's bachelorette party, I said to myself. I watched them laugh, have a drink, and walk back to the dance floor to a slow number. The only reason I didn't rush right over there and pounce on the two of them was because I was standing next to Rick and had to at least appear professional. "Rick, I need to get home. I have tons of things to do for tonight, and it's almost 10. I want to thank you again for the business, and I know you won't regret coming to our company," I told him as I walked away from the door. "Pick a weekend and bring your wife. You'll be my guests. A weekend here will do wonders for your love life," he said, winking at me. "I can guarantee it." We shook hands again. I got in my car and drove away. I drove back to town in a daze. "How long the hell?" was the first question. Sue had been dating Bill when we first met in class. They'd been going together for the better part of 2 years now, and what we'd started with a lively discussion in sociology class had evolved into a lunch or two in the student union, and finally into dinner. She tossed and turned between Bill and me until I put my foot down. "Sue, make up your mind. It's either him or me. I'm not sharing you." I gave her my ultimatum. Ha! She dumped him after 2 weeks and we became an instant couple. Hell, we made love like rabbits on our first date. We went to Outback Steakhouse and spent Saturday and all day Sunday in bed. Not a month later, Sue found out she was in maternity mode. Hell, at that point, it wasn't even a question of what to do. With Grandma's ring in my hand and on my knees, I proposed to Sue. She said yes, and a month later, we were husband and wife. Do I regret the way things turned out? Not really. I had the woman of my dreams, and 8 months later, we had a bouncing baby boy. Everyone helped, and we did just fine. We weren't rich, but we were happy nonetheless. And so it went from day one. Even after all these years, we found time to do it at least 3 times a week. And I always considered myself a happily married man. I was not deluded and assumed my wife thought the same. She did, until an hour or so ago. Sue wasn't home when I arrived, thank goodness. I went to the computer and typed Bill Carroll into Google. Computers are wonderful. There is a tremendous amount of information that can be accessed with just a few keystrokes. Take Bill, for example. I now know that he lives about 45 minutes away from us, in the same town as ours. Checking his name and address, I find that he is married to Ruth. If he has a wife, what the hell is he doing with mine, and how long has it been going on? I asked myself. I found out the address and decided to pay Bill a little visit. I went upstairs and started to change into something more casual when my anger burst out. I threw the suit on the floor and pounded my fist on the bedroom door. "That fool!" I shouted. No wonder she didn't want to fool around on a Thursday night. She wanted to be fresh for her lover. My brain kept telling me over and over again. I grabbed the mattress, dragged it up the stairs, and tossed it out the front door. A little gasoline from the garage, and it was ready. I took off the wedding ring, along with the leather because it was so tight, and with a butcher knife secured it to the kitchen table so she couldn't miss it. Then I took my jacket, closed the door to my perfect marriage, and walked out onto the front lawn. I flicked my lighter and set the mattress on fire, got in my car, and headed to the next stop. The door was opened by my sister Cindy's husband, David. "Hi, Steve. The girls aren't back yet, but come on in," he said to me. "Would you like a beer?" he said, going to the refrigerator and getting me a cold beer. "That would be great," I told him. "Where did the girls say they were going?" I asked him. Cindy didn't tell me anything. She just said she'd be home by 11:30, and that was it. I looked at my watch. The time was getting close to that. "What do you want with Cindy? Maybe I can help you?" he said, trying to be helpful. "No, this is between me and Cindy," I told him, trying to contain the anger that was eating me up inside. We chatted for about 20 minutes before we heard Cindy's car pull into the garage. When she walked into the kitchen, she was a little surprised to see me. "Hey, brother, I thought you'd be home waiting for Sue," she said as she walked over to me. Neither she nor David expected what happened next. Cindy was getting up off the floor, rubbing her cheek, and David was yelling at me, asking what the hell was wrong with me when I finally spoke. "Don't ever talk to me again, don't call me, or even email me. You are dead to me from this day forward, do you understand?" I yelled at her as David got in my face. "David, leave him alone," was all she said. "Steve, it's not what you think, I can explain," she started to say, until I stopped her. "Explain what, Cindy? How you've been lying to me, and even David, all this time? I don't want to hear any more of your story, do you hear me? Never in a million years did I think my own sister would do that to me," I said, as I walked out of their house and listened to David yelling at her, asking what the hell was going on, and she started crying. All I heard as I pulled away was David still asking her what the hell I was talking about. It didn't really matter to me anymore, though. It took me almost 50 minutes to get to my final stop of the evening. I verified the address, got out of the car, and opened the trunk. Pulling out Kevin's almost new aluminum bat, I started smashing all the windows of the car in the driveway, including the headlights. By this time, the house lights were on, and Bill opened the front door. "What the hell are you doing? Are you out of your mind? I already called 911, and you better leave before they get here," he yelled to me. "Come out here, Bill, and we can settle this man to man, unless you remain the coward you've always been." "Hey, asshole, does your wife know you're cheating on her? Maybe we should just switch wives and call it even?" I shouted at the world as I approached the front door. Bill slammed and locked the door, but that didn't stop me. I kicked out the etched glass window at the top of the door and the lights on either side when I heard the siren of police cars approaching. I dropped the bat, raised my hands above my head, and walked toward them. One of them cuffed me while the other went up to the house to make sure everyone was okay. I saw Bill talking to him and his wife peeking out from behind the curtains. I shouted again, "Tell your wife what a good wife I have, Bill. I think she'd be interested to know where you've been tonight," I said, looking right at her. I was thrown into the back seat of a patrol car and driven into town. It was too late to do anything today, but tomorrow, I was told, I would be able to post bail after my arraignment. So here I sit in my cell wondering what will happen next in my life. My only sister was now dead to me, because all this time she was covering for Sue. The worst part is, I didn't even see this coming. I guess I was happy, stupefied, and gullible. The next 4 hours gave me enough time to realize that this had been going on for at least a year. Maybe more. The weekend lovemaking, I think, was a cover for her cheating on me. By 6 a.m., I had calmed down considerably. I was still mad as hell, but the initial shock had passed. Saturday morning, I appeared before a judge and heard the charges. My bail was set at $2,500, and I was allowed one phone call. I called my boss, Tom. "What is going on?" Tom asked as he posted my bail. "What did you do?" I told him the short version as he drove with his mouth open, not believing a word I said. "Where do you want me to drop you off?" he asked. I gave him Bill's address because I hoped my car was still there, and it was. I wanted to ring the bell and start over, but I knew I didn't want to spend another night in jail. I saw the curtains slide closed, but this time, no one came to the door. There was no way I was going home, so I just checked into the Holiday Inn closest to work. Breakfast at Denny's almost brought me back to life, or at least filled my empty stomach. Last night, I wanted answers, but now I didn't care. I turned on my cell phone, and there were 5 messages from my sister and 10 from Sue. I listened to one of them in which my sister was telling me that all was not as it seemed, and for me to call Sue because she was worried about me. A little late, I thought to myself, Sue was having about the same thing. "Please call me so I can explain everything," she begged through her tears. But I wasn't in the mood to talk to her. I erased any remaining messages and turned off my phone. I got drunk on Sunday, but not before leaving the house and buying a few things to wear to work on Monday. For the past 8 years, I haven't had more than 4 beers at a time, but today, I managed to finish almost 12 bottles. Everything was fine until I threw up everything in my stomach and passed out on the bathroom floor. That's the kind of drinker I was. Monday, I was a little late for work, and as I walked past Tom's office, he stopped me. "You look like shit, but under the circumstances, I can't blame you," he told me. "If there's anything I can do, just let me know," he said. I held out the signed contract to him. "At least something good came out of Friday night," I smiled weakly at him. "I told the receptionist to screen your calls and take messages for the next few days, and security won't let your wife in until you give the okay. So have a cup of coffee and tell me about what you had to give up to get signed on Friday," Tom told me. "Monday was a drag. I was busy rewriting the new contract and sending it to corporate. I got a lot of praise, but it didn't make me feel any better. Security told me that they wouldn't let Sue on the doorstep and asked if I wanted to continue to keep Sue out. I replied that I did. I rarely traveled, but the one thing I hated when I traveled was eating alone. No matter how good the food was, eating alone was unpleasant. Instead of Denny's, tonight I went to Olive Garden. I sat at a table for 2 in the back of the restaurant and ate well, but I would have been better off with a bottle of wine. I didn't like to drink. But over the past 2 days, I had consumed a 2-week supply of alcohol, and it didn't improve my mood one bit. Monday night, I started making plans. I didn't trust Sue, and with my luck, she would empty our savings and checking accounts. I pulled out my laptop and logged onto the website. No, the funds, thank goodness, were in place. I made a note to take half of it at lunch tomorrow and open a new account. My medical account couldn't be changed, but the company insurance policy and 401k definitely could. I would transfer both to Kevin if anything happened to me. When my phone rang, I remembered I forgot to turn it off after checking my messages. The call I answered was from my dad. "Okay, where are you? Where are you?" he asked. I guess we had gotten beyond the hello and how are you stage. "At a motel near work," I replied. "Do you know I have 2 crazy women in my house right now? They're crying and telling me and your mother that what you saw Friday night was not what it seemed," he said seriously. "I can't make out what they are saying, only that Cindy and Sue have been lying through their teeth for a long time. Are you in the mood to come here tonight and figure it all out?" my father asked. "Not really, no. I saw what I saw, and there's nothing Sue can say to explain it. I'm sorry they dragged you into my mess, Dad. But if you saw what I saw, and it was Mom, you'd kick her to the curb, too." "I just feel sorry for Kevin. He's going to be put in the damn middle," I told him. "Well, son, do what you gotta do and call your mom this week. She's upset about all this." I thanked him and apologized again for putting him and Mom in the middle, especially because of Cindy, but reminded him that it was their actions that caused them to take it all on themselves. I disconnected and turned my phone off. The rest of the week went badly. I got a million messages from Cindy and Sue, but now I was just erasing them without even bothering to read them. I planned to call my mom or stop by on Friday, only if Cindy wasn't available. I called my son Thursday night, and he said his mom was shattered and hadn't been to work all week. He told me that his mom asked if he would talk to me to tell me that he loved me and that she needed to see me. I thanked him for the message, but told him it wasn't going to happen. "What did Mom do?" my son asked me. I asked Mom, and all she told me was that she was seeing someone from her past, that's all. After that, she started crying again, and that was the end of it, he told me. I told him that I would probably see him this weekend, but I couldn't say when exactly. I knew I would eventually have to see Sue, but I wasn't looking forward to it. Saturday was boring beyond belief. I spent extra hours at work and was completely absorbed in my own affairs. There was nothing on TV, and I was tired of sitting through gravy, so I decided to take a chance and drove home. "Damn," was all I said when I saw Sue's car in the garage. Fuck it. I needed a couple changes of clothes, so I didn't hesitate and walked into the house. Kevin was in the kitchen making dinner, and I gave him a big hug. "You know Mom's upstairs, don't you?" he said, almost expecting me to run out the door. "I can't hide forever," I told him, grabbing myself a cup of coffee. He brought me up to speed and asked me if I was going to come home. "I don't think that's going to happen. At least not anytime soon," I answered him. "But if it does, you'll be the first to know," I said, trying to smile. I finished my coffee and decided to go upstairs to get it over with. As I walked up the stairs, I heard nothing coming from our bedroom. I opened the door and walked in. What a mess. Sue was dead asleep on the bedspread and was dressed in sweatpants. Her hair was dirty and greasy, and she looked just awful. I walked over to my closet, opened the door, and started pulling out a few things, at which point Sue woke up. "You're back!" she shouted. "Not for long. I just came in to get a few things," I told her as she sat up on the bed. "I missed you," she said, now with tears in her eyes. "What's the matter? Bill doesn't give you enough?" I said sarcastically. "Steve, you have to believe that I never slept with him," she said seriously. "I only saw him a couple times a year and only at dinner." "Sue, I was there. I saw you. Why can't you, for once in your life, stop lying? You were laughing and drinking and dancing with him. What was that? Did I dream it? All I know is it was my worst nightmare ever," I told her. So just go to bed and I'll get my stuff and get out of your hair and you can do whatever you want to, Bill. I don't care anymore. Maybe you can have a threesome with his wife, then she won't feel left out, I shouted to her. His wife already knows and has known for a year, she replied, looking at the floor now. And she doesn't care? That she's stupid? I asked. She may not mind sharing, but I sure as hell do, she shouted. Sue, I don't need this. Do what you want. I don't care anymore, I said, going back to picking out clothes for next week. Steve, there's something I have to tell you, and I know you're going to hate me for not telling you sooner, but I've kept it from you for too long already, Sue said in a voice just above a whisper. Remember when that girl was kidnapped last January? At Kevin's school, they started an ID bank for every student. They swabbed them, took a piece of hair and fingerprints. I thought it was a great idea, but when I provided his blood type information from my home file, I noticed something. Without your knowledge, I ran some tests and found out something awful, she said, sobbing. Kevin's okay, isn't he? I asked, now more than concerned. Yes, but I found out something I never knew, she said, stopping. I asked. What did you learn, Sue? I asked again. Now she was openly crying. I found out that you weren't Kevin's father, she said, sinking down on the bed. I was in shock, leaning against the dresser, and I thought it couldn't get any worse. Are you sure? Did you check it out? I asked in a frenzy. I got tested twice, and both times the results were the same, she told me. I found the one person I was in love with, and when he sent a cheek swab, it came back positive. I'm so sorry, Steve, I never knew that, she said as she continued to cry. Let me guess. Bill is his father? I said, as if trying to spit out some kind of nastiness. He wanted to meet Kevin and talk to him, but I refused. I made a deal with him to keep him in the shadows. I would meet with him a couple times a year and give him full information, including pictures and such, to keep him quiet. Bill was very excited about having a boy because he and his wife had 2 girls. Bill told his wife about Kevin, and she made him promise not to show up and tell Kevin who he really was if he wanted to stay married to her. Sue, you dumped Bill and started dating me. What were you doing, sleeping with both of us? I asked. When Bill came to get the rest of his stuff, he was all upset about me leaving him for you. We had a few drinks, and the next thing I knew, we were already in bed. I swear to God that was the only time, and I didn't know Kevin was his. You have to believe me, she pleaded. And Cindy knew all about it? I asked. I told her and asked her what should I do. She said you would go crazy and it would be the end of our marriage and family. She told me to give Bill what he wants and keep my mouth shut. That way no one would know. I'm sorry, Steve, I told her you wouldn't leave us, but she said you hate Bill so much you'd disown Kevin and me. I don't know why I didn't trust my instincts, she told me. So you've been seeing him since last year behind my back and using my sister to cover for you, is that about right? I asked. Sue just nodded, looking down at the floor. After 17 years, you didn't trust me enough to tell me, and instead you chose to lie to me. What were those special weekends? Was it just to make you feel better about lying to me? You make me sick, Sue, I said, almost spitting at her. No, Steve, they started a lot sooner than I found out. It was our weekend, no one else's. Please believe me, she said, reaching for me. Don't touch me, don't ever touch me again, I screamed at her. Our whole marriage had been a fucking lie. I thought things were bad when I thought you were cheating on me. Now I found out that my son wasn't really my son. Why didn't you just put a bullet in my head? Does Kevin know yet? I asked. No, I haven't told him and he doesn't need to know. You're his father, and you always will be. Bill's just a donor. You taught him how to ride a bike, play baseball, and gave him his first car. You're more of a father than Bill could ever be. He never has to know Bill. There's only 4 people in the world who know, and none of us will tell him. You'll always be his father. No one will ever know. So now you want me to start lying too? It's not enough that you drag my sister into your sordid lies. Now you want to drag me into it too. That's not going to happen. He'll be told if I have to do it myself. He has a right to know who his biological father is. Everyone has a right. You're right. He will always be my son, if that's what he wants. He carries my last name, and I wouldn't change that for anything, I told her. You will, however, carry my last name for about 3 more months. I plan on divorcing your lying ass as soon as possible. If you had come to me a year ago and told me what you found out, we probably would have worked it out. It might have been a little hard for a while, but mistakes happen. The fact that you've lied and deceived me for the last year is unforgivable. You didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth, and when there is no trust in a marriage, there is no marriage. You ruined a good marriage, and for what? Dinner, a little dancing, and a lot of lies. Like I told my sister, I never want to talk to you again. You're dead in my eyes, I said as I walked down the stairs to the kitchen. Kev, it's time you and I had a little talk, I told him. Dad, if it's about love, I know everything, he replied. Well, maybe not everything, I said, pulled up a chair and started telling him a tale about the birds and the bees. The end.